Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Doctor. Okay, I can hear you. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, great. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me well? Good, thank you very much. Thank you for your attendance, ladies and gentlemen. Today's workshop, as you know, is going to be about a very, very important and interesting topic for graduate students, of course, which is how to write a book review. This very interesting topic is going to be presented by Dr. Basim Alamri. Needless to introduce Dr. Basim, you know him very well, mashallah. He is our Academic Writing Center director. Dr. Basim is an assistant professor in English language at the English Language Institute. He is also a general analyst and corpus linguist. His research interests revolve around topics related to language 2, academic writing and publishing, including general analysis studies and corpus linguistics, English for academic and specific purposes, discourse analysis, and technology in the classroom. I was about to write the book reviews he, mashallah, participated in, but he's going to display them in one of the slides, inshallah. If you are ready, Dr. Basim, I'll leave the floor for you, and I hope everybody will enjoy this very interesting and very excellent workshop and presentation. Okay, I leave the floor for you, Dr. Basim.
All
You
right.
can go ahead.
Thank you, Brother Kamal. Thank you for your kind
Thank you.
introduction.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum again. And thank you for attending my presentation workshop, which is going to be about, as Mr. Kamal said, how to write a book review. So in the presentation, so I'm gonna talk about introduction, just a short introduction, then what is a book review and why is it important, and also some guidelines on how to write book reviews. Also, I'm gonna talk a little bit about solicited and unsolicited book reviews. Then we will discuss how to read and write book reviews. Also, I'm going to share comments from book review editors from my experience, the comments that I received from the editors. And also, I'm going to share with you samples and conclude our presentation, inshallah, by presenting like main points or summary. So as I mentioned, I'm going to share with you my experience in publishing these book reviews here in ISIQ1 journals, top journals in the field of applied linguistics. So 2 weeks ago, I received the good news publication or the acceptance of my latest book review, the first one, which is going to be now in press. So I'm going to share with you my experience in how to write and how to contact the journal to submit your book review. Oh, thank you. So let's get started right now. And this is the first question. Have you read the book review before? What do you think? What do you think, guys? Have you read a book review? Yes, good. What was it like? Did you enjoy reading it? Why did you read the book review or couple book reviews? Any thoughts? So no idea. Okay, Muhammad. So we have, mashallah, a couple who said, okay, we read book review. So since you already read the book review, so this will lead me to the second question. Oops. Have you written a book review? Yes, Awad. Yeah, some book reviews give clear insight about the book. Awad, mashallah, you have experience in writing a book review. So inshallah, you will share this experience with us in this workshop. Futun, hopefully in the future, yes, it's easy and not easy, but there are some techniques that we will talk about in a PowerPoint presentation format. That's good, yes, as long as you did something or you have done something in PowerPoint presentation or something written, so then that's good. So you have the experience of doing this. All right, so let's move on now. What is a book review? A book review here is, generally speaking, a review is a critical evaluation. Whatever the evaluation is here, it needs to be critical. Critical evaluation of a text, phenomenon, article. Sometimes, if you are a graduate student, you may come across an assignment telling you that I need you to criticize the article, read an article, for example, and evaluate it or criticize it. So this is a review in general. Book review here. Book reviews typically evaluate recently written works. So when you decide to write a book review, you need to choose a very recent book. If it's not in the same year, let's say, for example, 2021, 2021, or let's say in the past 6 months, no later than that. So Futun, should we focus on the semantics or the pragmatics of the book? Okay, we are coming to this point, and thank you, Futun, for raising this question. And here, book reviews also offer a brief description of the text key points and also provide a short evaluation of the strengths and weaknesses of the work. Most journals, academic journals, publish book reviews, and book reviews are solicited by an editor, meaning that book reviews do not go through external review process or any reviewing process like that. So you are the reviewer, and with the editor, you both decide on accepting or writing a book review. So this is what we mean by solicited. Okay, so why do we need book review, or why book review is important? Any comments or any answers? Why book reviews are important? Add more perspectives. Okay, summary, save time and looking for information. Yes, to see you target audience. To save time to read full text. Yes. Excellent. Yes, I like these answers. So basically, to inform readers about new books in the marketplace. In addition to all of these great comments, yes, and one of them is to inform readers about new books. So there are some features of good reviews here, or key features of successful reviews. Book review evaluates the contribution of the text and also sets the work in a larger or broader context. It's not like just for one context or particular audience. So when you write a book review here, you need to target a larger or wider audience. Is it not a form of advertising? Sort of, but when you add your evaluation, let's say when you mention like some limitations, I think it's not kind of advertisement, but yes, it could be. It could be an advertisement. Book review identifies the strengths and weaknesses of the argument of the book. For example, here, if you mention some weaknesses of the book, so then it's not an advertisement. But if you focus on the strengths, so then yes, it is an advertisement. Book review involves the reader and the discussion. So I am, as a reviewer, when I engage with the book and then write a book review, then here I am involved. I know what's going on in this book and what to recommend or not to recommend the book or the intended book. All right, so moving on, choosing the reviewers. So how journals choose book reviewers. So different editors have different procedures, different approaches for choosing book reviewers. One of the approaches or the procedures, some journals have panels of authors for this, for doing book reviews, and other journals may have, or the editors of other journals may have like recommendations from their colleagues. For example, if I know, for example, Ahmed in the field of, let's say, for example, applied linguistic, and I'm an editor or book review editor, I will just send to Ahmed, hey, Ahmed, could you please review this book? This is one way. Another way, you can also email the journal asking them if they are interested in the book that you are reading and reviewing. If they are interested, they will say, okay, we can accept it. Just write a review based on the following instructions and guidelines. I'm going to show you some of these guidelines in the next slide. Okay, instructions. So there are some special instructions for reviewers. There are also some technical instructions or matters and also content. So there are three different instructions: special, technical, and content. And sometimes each journal may have specific or special instructions when it comes to writing a book review. There are some general guidelines, instructions, but some journals may have a special instruction or guideline. Okay, guidelines here or guidance on technical matter. For example, the first one here, words length. So any book review should be from 1200 up to 2000, but the range here in almost most of the journals ask for no more than 1500. So no more than 1500 words. Most of the journals in our field, applied linguistic or ELT, and also other in social science in general, up to 1500 words. Other advice here on layout: reviews should be set, justified, and double-spaced. This is almost all journals ask for this layout. The head of your review should be in this appropriate format: author, surname first, then date of publication, title. It's almost like a citation, but here you add the ISBN number, and also sometimes you add the price of the book at the end of the head. We call it the head of the review. It's similar to the reference, but with few changes. So you begin with the author, last name, and then first name, date of publication, then the title of the book involved, then the place of publication, publisher, number of pages, ISBN number, and price. Then how to end the review: basically write your name, then your institution, and your email address. Sometimes Some journals ask for some like biographical notes, but most of journals ask for only your name, institutional affiliation, and your email. References, please, no need to use many references. Use references sparingly. 2, 3, up to 3 references if you want to compare between this book and other books. We will talk about this, inshallah, in a minute. Instructions for submitting the finished review, deadline. So each journal has a deadline for submitting the review. Most of them, they will ask for 3 months. Please, you have now from the day of contacting them, so you have 3 months to submit the book review. Why? Because as I mentioned earlier, book reviews are written just for the new recently published book. So no need to write a book review for books like that was, let's say, books that were published 2 years or 3 years ago. So no need for this. They need to write book reviews about books that are published recently within 6 months or 8 months. Look at okay, it saves other readers time, especially the researchers, to know about the books they are looking for. Yes, thank you, Awad. Look at this here. This is just a sample of, this is the head here. This is the head of the review. We call it head here. Here, if you see this here, end, this is the end of the review. And here, let's say the last part of the review, but this is what I'm talking about here. This one here is the head. You see the title. And again, this journal requires to begin by the title of the book. Other journals will require here to add the author of the book here. And most journals end with the name, affiliation, and email address. All right, let's move on. Guidance on content. I got this from Journal of the Medical Library Association. Some journals provide more advice here. Look at this journal here. This journal asks for a brief overview of the scope and the content of the book. There is no need to review each chapter. They want you to just focus on the significance and the usefulness of the book, and also to indicate its potential audiences. So these are instructions. I got them from the website of this journal. I copied and pasted these instructions. So they only focus on these elements: overview, significance, usefulness, and potential audiences. Other journals here ask for this here. For example, Law and Politics journal here ask for this. The editor encouraged reviewers to devote special attention to political assumption and discussion. Political assumption and discussion. So this is the focus of this journal. Other journals here, we are seeking reviews that are incisive, integrative, balanced, and provocative. This is this journal is Psych Critics or Critiques. System here, prefer less formalic, more personalized perspectives. And I was surprised when I wrote a book review to them. They asked me to do more personal stuff. Let's say my own voice. They asked me to write my own voice. I used too many of I's in the book review published here in system. So they have this kind of instruction. Use your own voice. Say, what do you think of the book explicitly? Use that's fine with that journal. And they asked me, and I'm gonna talk about this later when when we come to the comments from editors. Okay, let's keep going for, okay, here solicited and unsolicited book reviews. Unsolicited means what? Anonymous reviews. Some editors accept unsolicited or anonymous reviews. For example, if you have like X journal and you want to publish a book review, you want to write a book review to that journal, you can just email them. Okay, my name is, for example, Basim Alamri. My research interests are blah, 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 blah. And I would like to write a book review for your journals. And if you are interested, this is the book that I'm reading. Would you, are you interested in this book? Then you will receive a reply or response from the editor. So one of these three responses. The first one would say, okay, I strongly encourage unsolicited reviews. Okay, they accept unsolicited reviews, like this journal, Journal of Technical Writing and Communication. Other journals here, like this journal, the Hispanic American Historical Review, they don't, in this journal, they don't publish unsolicited review. However, if you would like to be added to our database of potential reviewers, please fill in our potential reviewers data sheet. So this is just kind of, okay, it's a rejection, but in a polite way. And some journals, they will just reply to you, unsolicited book reviews are not accepted. And they put this in the journal's website. Unsolicited book reviews are not accepted. So, but you can email that journal, even if they said, okay, we are, or we don't accept unsolicited reviews, because if you have, let's say, for example, a strong CV, or you have experience in publishing book reviews, so then you can include your CV in the email. So then they will think, I mean, the editor will decide then based on this, based on your CV. So again, the advice here, email book review editor of the journal asking for their interest in publishing a review of the proposed book or the book that you are reading. Okay, procedures of writing book review. There are 4 stages. The first one, before you read, what you need to do or to know as you read, when you are ready to write, and the last stage, revising. Let's talk about each one of these stages. Okay, before you read, consider the following elements. The first one is the journal, whether the journal is appropriate for the book that you are going to read and review. Does this book fit in that journal? Look at the instruction of that journal, whether or the theme and the scope of that journal, to see whether this book fits in that that journal, and also read the instruction to see, for example, if they are accepting, for example, unsolicited book reviews or not. If they mention this, you can give a try and see if they are willing to accept your book review. And also here, the author, who is the author of the book. For example, one of the tricks that I use when I write the book review, you can just look at the author, see whether the author is in the editorial board of the journal or not. If it is in the editorial board, you are most likely will hear good news from them. So because the author of that book is working in the editorial board. This is one of the tricks. Give it a try and see if it works or not. Genre here also, what type of this book? Is it fiction, non-fiction, academic, non-academic, poetry? You decide the genre, then you decide the journal. You see if this journal ask for this kind of genre or publish this kind of genre. Who is the intended audience, and what is the purpose of the work? And all of these elements need to be fit well with the journal that you want to write a book review. Here also the title, where does the title fit in that journal? And is it interesting to them or not? If it is interesting to them, they will say, okay, go ahead, you have 3 months, write the review based on these instructions or guidelines. Also here, once you decide, so you need to look at the book here, the table of content, how the book is arranged based on section, chapters, what are the issues there, just to get an overview, what we call it mini reviews, to get general sense of the book through the cover, or we call it book jacket, just to get general sense or general overview or mini review about the book before you start reading the book. The next stage here, as you read, you need to determine how you will structure the summary as you read. Now you start reading, so you need to take notes, you need to highlight important issues, important arguments, and through as you read the book. If you read, for example, fiction book, so then you need to focus on the characters. Also here, look at the theme and styles and motives of the book, the contribution of the book as you read, chapter by chapter or section by section or part by part. So this is a continuous things that you need to do, or elements that you need to focus on. Argument. How is the work's argument set up? What support does the author give for his or her findings? Does the work fulfill its purpose, support of the argument or not? Key ideas. So what is the main idea of the work? What makes it good, different, groundbreaking, not good, or groundbreaking? Quotation here, if it is necessary to add quotes, so then do so. If it's not, but you need to highlight them and underline them for when the time comes to write the review. Okay, I think we have a question. Do book reviews format differs according to the book's type, literature, medical? Again, here it depends on the journal instructions. Here, some journals ask you to write, for example, in different styles. And again, it goes back again to your style. Would you prefer to add, let's say, the summary and the evaluation of each paragraph of each section or each chapter in one paragraph, or you write a summary and you include the evaluation at the end of the review? So it depends on both you and the instructions of the journal. So it depends on the journal interest and my style. Yes, both. Yeah. Okay, you finish reading, highlighting, taking notes, everything is done now. It's time to write. So here, begin with a short summary. Begin with a short summary of the work. Consider the following. Establish a background. Remember your audience. Remember that your audience has not read the work. Here you need to summarize only main points. There is no need for summarizing every point, because let's say, for example, if if a book has 10 chapters or 12 chapters, if you summarize every point, so you won't be able to write within 1,500 words. So you need to summarize only the main points. And also here, you need to focus on the most interesting points or issues in the book or in each chapter, whether if you agree, disagree, if you want to negotiate, discuss these arguments through your review. Organize here. The purpose of the review is to critically evaluate the text, not just to inform the readers. Keep this in your mind. You need to be balanced between the evaluation and the summary. Don't talk too much about the summary and leave just a little space for the evaluation. Here you need to balance between the summary and the evaluation of each chapter or the book in general. So your evaluation here, you need to choose one or couple points to discuss. You don't have the space to discuss every point. You don't have space to discuss everything. Just focus on major issues or major points to evaluate. You can also compare this book with other books or with articles if you have, like, if you want to cite something, or let's say if this book is kind of similar to other books and you want to make a comparison between these two books, so then it's okay. But again, you need to be balanced. Don't talk too much about other books and leave the intended book without notice. You can talk about what major themes, motives, terms in that book, and why these themes, why these points, why these terms. You need to be as explicit as possible. And the evaluation will come to now move to the introduction. So now we'll talk in general about when you write. Now let's take it section by section. The first section here that you need to write is the introduction. What you need to know in this, let me move this. Okay. In general, you should include the name of the author, title, and the main theme. Relevant details. Here, this is the introduction, the first paragraph. The context of the book, just in 1 or 2 sentences. The thesis of the book and your thesis as well. So you need to include these elements in the introduction, and then in the introduction paragraph or introduction section. Once you finish including, you can write a hook as well, like an introductory sentence or a hook just to hook the readers. Let's look at this sample here. This is just a hook here. If you look in recent 5 years, emotions as an important effect in language learning, you see here all of these sentences are a hook. Then here, let me move this, okay. If you look here, then the author mentioned this just to let us know that there is a call. There is a call for in-depth research on emotion, for example. Then as a response to the call here, this is the book. The book utilizes a mixed method. Then the author introduced the book here. But look at the hook that the author used here, or the reviewer used here in his review. Then he mentioned why he chose this this book. I chose this book to review based on my interest and individual differences. You see, This is the second part. You can also merge these two paragraphs in one paragraph because it's an introduction. This is just an introduction. We'll see some examples later on. So when you are ready to write, so now it's time to write your summary. Provide a general view of the organization of the book. State the topic of each chapter, section. Briefly summarize the content of each chapter, section, or part. You can also summarize both chapters. Let's say, for example, chapter 1 and chapter 2, you can summarize both of them in one paragraph. That's totally fine. And also you can evaluate these two chapters in the same paragraph. This is, again, it depends on the style that you follow or the style of the journal. So you need, also you can read couple book reviews published in that journal to see the style that the journal uh, follows. So this is another way as well. Cite extra materials if you need to cite. For example, if you find, let's say, an argument in the book that contradict, for example, argument that contradicts, for example, another argument in another article, so then you can cite, but again, don't cite too many references or too many materials here. Sample here, look at how this reviewer summarizes this chapter here. So the book begins with a helpful outline. This thoughtful and engaging account takes reader through. Look at these highlighted phrases. What stands out about these two chapters? See, the reviewer here summarized both chapters together. Honesty and candidness. All three chapters offer rich and detailed discussion of the theoretical underpinnings and so forth. You see here, the author here or the reviewer summarized three chapters together and put like some evaluative phrases, because the reviewer here also wrote an evaluation paragraph at the end of this review. But look at this, this is one style. Other styles may include just a summary of each chapter, especially if the book has, let's say, 8 chapters or 6 chapters, there is a room to summarize and analyze each chapter in a separate paragraph. But books like this one here, I think this book has around 16 chapters, I guess, 14 or 16 chapters. So here, there is no space to write a review about each chapter, and this is one of the techniques. So to merge or to combine 2 or 3 chapters together and analyze them. It's time now to do the analysis and the evaluation of the book. Your analysis and evaluation should be organized into paragraphs that deal with a single aspect of your argument or major or the main points or issues. You can organize your paragraphs more usefully by themes, methods, or other elements of the book. You decide. You decide on this, whether you organize it by theme, methods, or arguments, for example, or main points that stood out when you read the book. If you find it useful to include comparisons to other books, keep them brief so that the book and the review remains in the spotlight. Avoid excessive quotation. Avoid excessive quotation. So no need for quotations unless if it is the quotation is needed here. Remember that you can state many of the author's points in your own words. So paraphrase. You can paraphrase the author's points rather than just quoting these points. Look at this analysis here. This ambitious book is not held together through the powerful thing that draws this book together is, let me see a question here. Can I quote other reviews? Well, it's not preferable. You cannot quote a review for let's say a sentence or couple sentences from other reviews. This is not preferable. And honestly, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this in my experience. So I think it's not preferable, and even it's not a good way to do this. So the honest sharing of theories and also here enable the book to speak to broad audience. The most standout feature of the book, openness, discussion, and also here generously full of detailed example, framework, practical suggestions, and activities. Look at this, the underlined one here. What do you think of this? Often texts such as this are either very theoretical or very practical. What do you think? What is the reviewer here going to tell us? What do you think? What do you understand from this sentence? Often texts such as this are either very theoretical or very practical. But each of the chapter in this book navigates, let me see. This is the best representation of this kind of books. Okay, yes. Thank you, Fatun. And also this kind of a limitation or one of the weaknesses of this book, which talks more about theoretical and practical, either very theoretical or very practical. And here also, let's continue the review. Honesty, generosity, quite rare. You see these phrases? These phrases are used for evaluation, for analysis and evaluation purposes. So this is a typical model of how to write an evaluation or the evaluation part about the review, about the book, sorry, about the book. Okay, conclusion. Sum up when you write the conclusion, the last paragraph in your review. Sum up or restate your thesis or make the final judgment regarding the book. You can introduce new ideas that go beyond the book. For example, if you want to recommend ideas to the author or the authors of the book, for example, I would hope to see XYZ in the second edition of the book. So here you are introducing or providing a new idea for the author if the author or authors are going to publish a second edition of the book. So it's time here to introduce your ideas. Again, balance the book's strengths and weaknesses in order to unify your evaluation. This is kind of tricky because sometimes some books are good enough so to write about their strengths more than about the weaknesses, but if you can make a balance, that's it. If not, so then you need to keep them, like if you mention, let's say, for example, 3 strengths, so here you need to say, let's say, for example, 2 weaknesses about the book, and you can find weaknesses, limitations in each. book. Look at this here. I really like this one here. This is the rhetorical move in scholarly book reviews. Look at these. These are the main elements that you need to add in the book reviews. 1, 2, 3, 4, introducing the book, outlining the book, highlighting parts of the book, and providing general evaluation of the book. And what you see here, you can include some of these functions here when you write your book review. Again, it depends on the instructions, because sometimes some journals may not ask you for citation. For example, one of the journals that I published, they asked me, no need for citation, we don't need citation. So, but here, I think I'll provide the reference for this at the end of the slides. And he analyzed, I think, 1,000 book reviews from different disciplines, and he proposed this framework of writing book reviews. Start with introducing the book, outline the book, highlighting parts of the book. If you have specific evaluation here, if you have specific evaluation, it's time to write it right away after the outlining of the book. And lastly here, providing general evaluation of the book. Definitely recommend the book for whom, for audience, for example, shortcomings, neither recommending or disqualifying a book, disqualifying the book. This is, I guess, it's too difficult to disqualify a book from being appropriate or not for audience. Last stage, revising, double check the argument, the spelling, to see whether there are too many arguments, whether too much or enough summary. You need to add more to cut out some of the summaries or the paragraphs. It's time now when you revise your book review. Does your argument about the text make sense? Do you need to clarify it? Here you need to step out from being a reviewer. You need to read the book or the review from the vantage point of your audience. Pretend that you are one from the audience. So here, read the review, see what is missing, what is not clear. You need to clarify something here, something here. This is vague. Add something. Be as explicit as possible. Should you include direct quotes from the reading? If it is necessary, so add the quote here, and provide reasons why you provide this quotation, support your argument, why you add the quotation. And again, double check the quote for accuracy. Okay, good. Versus weak book reviews. So what do you think? What makes a book review weak? Can't be peer-reviewed or completely solicited. It's completely solicited. It's completely solicited. You and the book review editor, you go through the process of reviewing the book review right away when you receive an email from them asking you to start review. So what do you think? What makes book review weak and good as well? The main highlights are not included and the proper book summary is giving. Okay, it's weak when it only focuses on the positive aspect or a bad aspect. Yes, thank you. Did not cover all the aspects. Okay, excellent. is not giving. Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you, Joseph. All right, see here, look at the table here. Good book reviews include or demonstrate or give a balanced critical evaluation of the text, well written, succinct, and informative. If it keeps comparing to other books without limit. Yes, thank you, Fatun. Yeah. Make seemingly dull topics interesting, make theoretical contribution, and the most important one, make people want to buy the book. But when we look at some characteristics or features of weak book reviews, pointless, uninformative, indecisive, and boring, in addition to what you already provided here in the chat. A mere listing of the content, pretentious, unkind, and careless, person abusive about the author's credentials, written to church the reviewer's ego. So here, when we want to compare between the good versus weak book reviews. Okay, I think Muhammad here, a balanced critical appreciation without being judgmental or biased. Yes, thank you. I should add these wonderful comments to the table here for future reference. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Okay, issues relating to book reviews. There must be some issues there. The first one here is conflict of interest. When an author, reviewer, or editor has financial or personal relationships that inappropriately influence his or her action. Second one, reviewer bias, as Brother Muhammad here mentioned. Fairness, accuracy, and objectivity of a review remain a problematic issue in publishing book reviews. I remember I read it in a book that a comment from a reviewer asking to tune the language, let's say to hedge the language, don't boostering it, don't be too harsh when it comes to evaluation. The last one here, time lag in publication of reviews. Here in this point, you have two options regarding the time lag. If you want to, therefore, a publisher or editor should not give a review. Exactly, yes. The review must come from the audience, from reviewers, from people who will read the book. So here you have two options. First, you need to buy a book if you want to write a review. The other option is to wait for publisher to send you a copy. We call it a copy, reviewing copy. So you have two options. I prefer to buy a book, then read it to include the book in my library. So this is it. I prefer to buy books and read them and put them in the library and take notes. And if I like the book, I will email a couple journals to see if they are interested in publishing book review about the book. So because of journals need these book reviews as soon as possible, so they will ask you to either to buy it, or if you request the publisher to send a copy to you, they will extend the deadline. Let's say, for example, if you request, okay, can you send me a copy of this book? They will say, okay, you have 4-5 months, because it's gonna take time to receive the copy, a copy of a book, especially if you are here in the Middle East. If you are, for example, in UK or US, so then it's just yeah, it's gonna take about 1 week or so. So the good thing is to buy the book just for you and to put it in your library. Lack of experience of the reviewer in the book field is critical issue. Yes, this leads us to the objectivity of the reviewer. Objectivity and subjectivity of the reviewer. Okay, let's now see a couple comments that I received in the book reviews that I published. Okay, the first one here, and I only choose the most important comments that I want to share with you here. What does the chapter have to say about this pressure? I talked about the pressure in one of the reviews. I talked about a pressure on academic writers and all of this stuff. Then the reviewer asked me, what does the chapter have to say about this pressure? Try to include this information. Okay, try to include this information in sentence rather than simply writing descriptively. Can you explain what these terms mean? I included terms in the review. Then the reviewer, the editor, asked me this question. Can you explain what these terms mean, perhaps by paraphrasing? They may be unfamiliar to the readers. That's good. Yeah, I didn't know that. And I learned a lot from this. So you need to define, you need to explain the terms, whenever terms you write in your review. So you need to explain them clearly. Could you please provide a summary of what the book is about? These two sentences do not help with readers to have a gist of what the book is about. Readers may not have read the book and they need to be informed of what the book is about. So here I wrote two sentences, but these two sentences were not clear enough to explain the summary of that book. So then I rewrote these two sentences into three sentences, more clearly, more explicitly, and included most of the main points of that book. Questions? Try to avoid using evaluating adjectives like valuable. I wrote valuable book. Then the editor asked me, why did you add this? You don't need to use these adjectives unless if these are substantiated. Provide argument, provide reasons for adding these evaluative adjectives. So it's very important. It's very important, and I learned a lot from this here. Yeah, it is, yes. Don't just don't just throw or add adjectives unless if you have something or argument, strong argument that explains why you add this. A bit vague. You mean more detailed discussion? Here, the editor asked me to add more discussion about the point that I mentioned. This is tricky and I like it. I wrote, let me read this comment now. Are you implying that the author does not intend for ESP readership? What I wrote here, I wrote, I would recommend this book to audience in ESP field. So I received this comment. Are you implying that the author does not intend this for? So I paraphrased what I wrote. Then they said, that's good. No need for such sentences that may be an, I don't know, and understood some way or another. So you limited the audience. Okay, kind of limitation, but excluding that. The meaning here is that I'm implying that the author of the book excluded ESP audience. So then I rewrote it in a different way just to stay away from this kind of, um, you know, implication. Another comments here. Look at this one. Okay, let's read this here. I would like you to include more of our own voice, experience, and perspectives of the book. Actually, I didn't know about this. So I wrote the review based on regular reviews that based on my experience. Then he said here, the editor said, you can sprinkle it throughout by commenting on different chapters, particularly about the usefulness of the author's tips for writing or the practicability of their advice. Or you can have one chapter here towards the end that explains which chapters different audiences would find more useful and why. So I didn't know this, though I read couple uh, couple book reviews from that journal, but these are the special instructions that I mentioned earlier. If you still remember, these are special instructions. Other journals may not ask for your own voice or experience. And here also, who do you think would be the likely, okay, let me read the comment. You have to add your perspective when you write a summary about the chapter. Yes, this journal requires this. Other journals did not ask me to do this. Also, who do you think would be the likely consumers for the book? Is it suitable for learners themselves? Because here I mentioned this book is suitable for teachers. So then he mentioned that. Is it suitable for learners themselves? Do you mean this? Could it be used by institutions? So I mentioned teachers. Here he asked me whether this book is good for learners, is good for institutions, or only for teachers. So then I rewrote this sentence and included other audience that may get benefit from the book. Could you single out one or two chapters as being especially insightful, useful, and or timely? Again, the summary of the content is great, but I would like to hear more of your own voice. So again, the summary, there is nothing wrong with the with the summary, but he wanted me to add my own voice in almost every paragraph or every chapter that I summarized. So right away, when I received the feedback from the reviewer, then I went through all the all the paragraphs. Then I added my own my own voice in these paragraphs. Here, these questions I emailed the editor here. I asked him after he said, yes, we are willing, we are interested in this book. Then I asked him, please, could you tell me what special instructions? Now I learned from this experience. So once he said, yes, we are looking forward to reading the review, go ahead, you have 3 months. So then I asked him right away, do you want, what special instructions do you want me to focus on when I write the review? Then he provided me with these 5 questions. What are the main themes and issues? What approaches, new contribution, who is the audience for this book? And is there anything distinctive about the way the book is produced, that it would be helpful for readers. For example, layout, design, images, tables, usefulness of index. And speaking of index, what I learned from my experience is when I wrote a book review about a book that did not have an index. I didn't know about this actually. So when I submitted the review, the editor replied to me because the editor has the book, but the editor did not have time to read it. But the editor said, "Didn't you notice that the book uh, does not have an index, which is a very uh, important limitation that you need to include in the review." So the the editor did not read the book. So because of his experience or her experience, uh, he told me this: add this to your review because there is no index. So this is a critical limitation of that book. And I added that limitation. And I learned from this. Once I have a book, I look at these easy to notice or mini reviews like index, table of content, layout, the design, all of these easy to notice elements. Okay, let's see. Very great, brother. Yes. Look at this sample here. My reviews on one of my colleagues' book on Amazon and Kindle. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. Look at this, another sample introducing the book here. Look at the highlighted must read here, standout feature that makes the book so useful for teachers, course designer, approachable, open, honest stance. You see these are evaluative adjectives, but with explanation here, outlining the book. The book comprises 4 parts. Part 1 and 2 provide accounts of. Part 3 and 4 intended to some of the possible future directions. You see here, the reviewer here combines 2 parts together, part 1 and 2, then part 3 and 4. Summary of contents. Structurally, this volume comprises 16 chapters. You see here, 16 chapters with no attempt to group them into sections. Look at this here. This is a limitation. This may appear loose in coherence. However, it may be thematically divided into 4 cohesive sections after careful reading. See here, the reviewer here is evaluating or criticizing this book of just 16 chapters, no sections, no parts. Then here, the reviewer introduces or suggests adding or grouping these 16 chapters by parts. So the reviewer interpreted the themes of the section, yes. And the reviewer suggests grouping them into parts. Analysis, look at this here. Another analysis. The latter point is stressed throughout the most chapters requiring. Having said that, maybe the book itself could have focused in more depth on this comparison. You see here a limitation, one of the limitation, criticism or weakness of the book. Here also concluding, despite some of the limitations mentioned above, overall a very valuable book for scholars. Here mention the audience, makes it engaging text, advised to attend and encouraging here, exceptionally valuable. Another notable features, a friendly tone. You see, kind of mix between evaluation, analysis and evaluation, strengths and weaknesses or limitations as well. And I think we reach the end here. So let's recap here. Make sure that your review contains and what the book is about, intended audience, evaluation or critique, references, strengths and limitations, format and length and the price. Sometimes some journals will ask you to add the price. A note, if applicable, at the end of review. Here, accurate details, title, edition, date of publication, publisher, ISBN, and the format. And that's it. Let me see the chat here. Yes, thank you, Brother Muhammad. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Basim. Really, it was a very, very insightful, informative, and useful presentation for everybody. Talking about myself, I really learned a lot from this excellent presentation.
My pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. If you have any questions, you can use the chat box or the mics to ask Dr. Basim about this very, very informative topic and presentation. Don't forget to complete the survey or the feedback form, gentlemen and ladies. And these are other sites for the YouTube channel and how to register, etc. Thank you again for attending and for participation.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters?
Okay, Fatun, where can we possibly read your review? And yeah, my reviews are available online and they can send you a copy of my reviews. So you can, and please, if you write a review and if you want me to look at your reviews, please send me email or book an appointment with me online here through the my WC online. Either way, you can email your review to me, and I'll be happy to look at the review and provide feedback and suggestions and comments. I'll be happy to do that. If any one of you would like me to read the review and make comments or suggestions, please do so. Here is my email. Send it to me. I will respond to you, inshallah, within a couple of days, inshallah.
Next week's presentations, brothers and sisters, are going to be writing an effective argument for research. That is going to be on Monday, the 29th of March. On Wednesday, the 31st of March, we'll have another informative presentation about writing the discussion chapter for a thesis. They are all targeting the graduate students, of course.
Yeah, thank you. What do you think, Dr. Hassan, about this spacing information when start writing review? You mean the information that I didn't download? Okay, let me download them. And so what kind of information? So I need Yes, attached. Let me save them here and see if trying to look at them. And here the references. Okay. Let me look at information. Basic, okay. Edward Sapir selected essay. Index. Let me go back. Okay. Okay, what you need here is number 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 as well. You need it. 8. Number 9, when you want to talk about or outlining the book. Does the book for following information? Okay. Yeah, number 10 is good. It's kind of checklist, but no need. You can take from this A, B, C, D, E, J, maybe. Yeah, J. These, I guess, the elements that you need to focus on. Yeah, it's kind of checklist, but again, look at the book. What is the genre of the book? Is it fiction, or is it academic book, or drama, or poetry? Again, look at the book in terms of the genre itself. And thank you for your question.
More questions, brothers, sisters, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, then if you have no more questions, then you can have a good night, inshallah. Thank you again for attending, and looking forward to seeing you next Monday and Wednesday for 2 more very informative presentations. Good night. See you. Thank you again, Dr. Basim, for the great presentation.
Thank you, Brother Kamal. Thank you all for attending my presentation, and inshallah, we'll see you inshallah next week.
Inshallah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.